Welcome to the Voices of the Goddess podcast. We believe that there is a goddess inside each and every one of us. When we use our voice to share that goddess, we support and uplift each other. Join us each week as we interview women to receive the message of their goddess within.
Good morning, everyone. We are so excited to have you here with us today. My name is Allyson Mancini. I am your holistic nutritionist, and I am joined by my sidekick.
Hi, I'm Julietta, the magical PT, and thank you so much for joining us today on Voices of the Goddess podcast, where we empower women with resources and tools to become the goddess that they are meant to be. And today we are joined by our good friend Dani. We are so excited you're here with us. Can you please introduce yourself to our audience and tell them a little bit about what you do?
Sure. My name is Dani Einsohn. I am the owner of Corporate Cleaning Concepts. We are a janitorial company, which I never in a million years thought I would ever be the owner of. And I'm also an area director for BNI Broward. I'm also a wife of 3 grown kids and 5.5 grandchildren, 5 3/4 grandchildren. So all of that keeps me very busy.
I can imagine.
You don't look old enough to have 5 grandchildren, but we'll go with it.
Don't forget the 3/4. We can't wait.
I know that one is coming. I know.
Awesome.
Super exciting.
All right, we're glad to have you here, and we're going to dive into our questions. And the first one is, what is your superpower, or what would you choose it to be?
Oh my goodness. I am an expert juggler. That is my superpower. If I wasn't good at it, I wouldn't be able to be effective in any of the areas. But I think that I do it not just wildly juggling what's thrown at me, but I think I'm pretty precise about choosing where I'm going to put my time when, so that I can be effective in every area of my life. Doesn't always happen that way. I'm not always successful, but I'm pretty thoughtful about how I do it.
Awesome. Yeah. Allyson and I are good at talking at the same time. But, I think so many of us as women, we've got our hands in so many different things. And yeah, how do you juggle and keep all the balls in the air?
Yeah,
it's not easy. So.
Well, yeah. I think the good point she just brought up to that too, though, is that it's not only, it is what you're juggling, but it's also knowing what to say no to and what not to add into those balls in the air, which we talk about that a lot. And especially in this group, you have to be okay with saying no to things also. And sometimes it may be something you really want to do, but it's just not the right timing, the right season, and sometimes it's not the right season because you're not ready for it. I mean, think about that as an area director, because Dani and I both are area directors for BNI Broward, and I could never have done what we're doing 10 years ago. Like if the opportunity had presented itself. So, yeah.
Right. And it helps to have a partner. It helps to have people to delegate to share with, and no one can do it alone.
No. We were just talking about that in another interview, and Julietta and I talk about that all the time. And that's part of the reason that we started this podcast together and this whole platform together, was because we had the support of one another. We could, share ideas. We could encourage one another. When one's having a rough time, the other one can pick you up, vice versa. Or when you're both having a rough day, you can commiserate together. Yeah, for sure.
Sure.
All right. So question number 2, and this is sometimes a difficult one for people to choose just one. So if you can't choose just one, we get it. But what is either the book that has most influenced you in your life or your favorite book?
So besides all the fiction I love to read, which is just for pure pleasure, that's my me time. I think the 4 Agreements made a huge impact on me. The 2 that stand out are, and the biggest one for me was It's Not All About Me. I used to walk around feeling like everybody was looking at me. Everything was about me. Somehow or other, I had to meet everybody's needs and expectations. And sometimes stuff happens that has nothing to do with me. And I don't know whether it was just getting older that helped me actualize that. But I think when I read it, I started to be able to think of that when things would happen and sort of shift my thinking, which shifted how I reacted to things. So it really made a huge difference. And then from there, I was able to tune in more to the little voice that, we have that yells at us. She's like in there chattering at us all the time. You didn't do this and you didn't do that, and that wasn't good enough, and this isn't good enough. And so ultimately, every time I remember, it's not all about me. Sometimes just take a step back and let it go and change the channel. Life is easier.
We're doing the 4 Agreements for our book club this month, right?
I did hear something about that. Yeah.
And we were just talking about the first agreement, which all the agreements I find are challenging, but spot on. In fact, Dani may not know this, Julietta knows this, but I journal every morning. And in my journaling, I start my journal out the same way. Just this is how I like to do it, is I start with 5 things I'm grateful for, 5 things I've accomplished the day before. And then I started writing down the 4 agreements. So I write each agreement down every day because I'm the kind of person that if I'm a very visual. So when I see it written down, and something about writing, and we've had this discussion in previous interviews, also something about writing, that whole process just really resonates for me. And I can remember it better because all 4 of the agreements are challenging. And if they're not at the top of your mind all the time, it's really easy to get caught up in what you're doing on a daily basis and they're out the window. The first one, I will be impeccable with my speech
that's my other one.
Is difficult right there, right? So careful how we speak. And we're talking about this because every Monday we go live inside of our group and we discuss where we're at in our book. And we were talking about this, and I just had a situation with my daughter, and I said things that I shouldn't have said. And because I was so caught up in the moment, it just came out. You know what I mean? Instead of being impeccable with my word, I had to go back. I had to apologize to her, and I'm still feeling guilty. Listen, I'm talking about it 3 days later. I'm still feeling guilty about it. So
let it go.
Let it go.
Let it go.
It's a great book.
It is.
It is a great book. And you should join us on our book club talk so we can
it's awesome.
Discuss it even
I just
further.
caught another ball.
You're awesome.
I would love to, though. I really would love to.
Yeah, you'll have to join it. We go on live on Mondays at noon, so you have to jump on some time and just join in on the discussion since you've read the book, it. So yeah.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
All right. Time for question number 3. Dani, what is your favorite self-care practice?
Oh, okay. Allyson knows this about me. I am an Orthodox Jew, and as such, I follow the laws of the Torah about the Sabbath. So from sundown on Friday until sundown Saturday night, 3 stars in the sky, no phone, no work, no computer, no TV, no radio, nothing but food, prayer, family, rest, relaxation, and gratitude. So Friday nights, we have a festive dinner with my son and his wife and baby. We go to synagogue Saturday morning, and that's a nice walk. We don't drive. We come home. We have another big festive lunch now with guests again, because that's part of it, is sharing. And then my husband and I take a lovely Saturday afternoon nap and spend the rest of the day reading our favorite books. So that resets me for the entire week. It sets me up spiritually. It sets me up in terms of resetting my body and letting go of the stress of the week and being able to appreciate everything that's happened this past week and go into a new week with an appreciation for what's the good things that are to come and feeling strengthened, by faith and being rested. So yeah, it's a good one.
That's a beautiful practice.
One, I think I need to institute into my life, and I'm not Jewish, but I still think it's an amazing. And Dani and I have had this conversation. I'm like, I think I need to start doing that for 24 hours.
We didn't do it all of our lives. We came to this late in life, and it's made a huge change for us in every way. And it was actually our children that led us on this path.
Wow.
So, yeah, they sort of discovered that they wanted more from their Jewish experience, and they started learning, and we all sort of, took the steps, step by step. We became kosher. We started going to synagogue more and keeping all the laws. And so it's been a phenomenal experience because we recognize that nothing we do is us by ourselves. God has a hand in everything that we do. And when you recognize that and you feel that partnership, you're not alone, and so for the good or the bad, we know that, we're being looked out after.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that. All of your kids practice the same?
No, 2 of the 3 boys.
Okay.
One is a more secular, he's connected, but he's not Orthodox.
Okay.
So, yeah, but the 2 who live here are. And so that gives us an added dimension to our family life because it's, it's something that we all do together, and it's how they are raising their children. And we get to be actively involved as grandparents in that. And it just makes such a difference in the life of our family and in our business. And it's no coincidence. I don't think there's a coincidence that we started this journey right around the same time I found BNI, and our business took off after, we were like an overnight success after 25 years of schlepping along, trying to make a go of it. And then, all of this started to happen. So, I
agree.
I think for sure that it all goes together.
Yeah, I don't think there's coincidences.
No.
I believe that it all however you want to look, it all happens.
Right.
When you look back at things that have happened in your life, you can completely connect the dots, and it's so incredible.
And I think there's a spirituality to business, where you're connected to to our customers in a spiritual way, to what we do, why we do it. I think that there's a very big spiritual component to being in business.
For sure.
That goes to our first book, The Spiritual Economics was the first book that we did for our book club.
That's another so good. She and I did not know what to expect from it, but it was recommended to us by another podcast guest. And so we decided, we both yes, we want to do this. It was so good and not what we had really expected, and not in a bad way at all, but it was just so good. I think that you would really, really like it, Dani.
I'm going to check it out.
Yeah. It's really good.
It's just about when you're doing your work and you're focusing on being in service, it just shifts everything. And so even if you're in a job or a position that you don't really like, if you switch your focus to, what is my service here? What is my purpose? How am I serving others by doing this? And really being in that, things will shift for you. Either the position that you have will, grow and develop in such a way that it becomes something that you like, or a new opportunity will present itself to you. But if you sit there and focus on what you don't like about what you're doing, you're just going to stay stuck in that muck. And
I'm laughing, Julietta, because I really have to do that when I think about our businesses cleaning other people's toilets. Like, how do we serve others? That's what we do, but that's not how we really serve others. But yeah, and for the longest time, I didn't want anything to do with it because it was only about that, and I think once we got the idea that no, we're helping people manage this part of their business that they don't want to deal with. So that allows them to deal with their business and be successful. And it's helped us be successful too.
Yeah.
So it's not all about toilets.
Has it really changed for you during this last year and a half, your industry with the cleaning, and especially because you do corporate offices, you're in commercial cleaning?
That's all we do. We only do offices and office buildings. And yes, I think people recognize that they can't put this off. They can't put the cleaning of their workspace off because it's important that they take care of their employees and their clientele who visit the office and anybody who comes into their office. So cleaning has become essential. And so right now we're working with several companies that are bringing their employees back to the office and want to set up cleaning protocols, disinfecting protocols to help keep the office healthier. And it's not just about COVID, it's, the colds and whatever. So when they have a professional cleaning service like ours, they have less absenteeism, which really directly affects their bottom line.
For sure.
Yeah. And with people getting vaccinated, it's easier to keep COVID out of the office, but we're still going to get the colds. We're still going to get the flu. We're still, there'll be those who are not vaccinated for whatever reason. And it's an important thing that business owners and property managers have to think about.
Yeah, for sure.
It's kind of our season.
Yeah, I would think so. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay. So our last question, right? We're on the last question.
Yeah.
All right. So our last question, and this question came to us because before we started our podcast, one of our BNI members that's in marketing and social media really encouraged us to do some research on our clients and our people our audience that we wanted to help. And so one of the questions that came back to us over and over that a lot of women struggle with is holding themselves accountable or finding accountability in their lives. So how do you, with all your balls that you have in the air, keep yourself accountable, or what keeps you accountable?
That's a good question. I certainly, I know always that I have to answer to the people I'm responsible to, whether, like you're my partner, Allyson, you're my work wife, in BNI. So I feel accountable to you. If I tell you I'm going to do something, I have to do it because otherwise I'm putting an unfair burden on you. Same with our business, the things that I do for our business, I'm accountable to my husband and to my son. And I know that if I don't do what I need to do, they are going to suffer because of it. And I never want anybody else to have to pick up the slack for me. So and then the bottom line though, is that I need to be able to sleep at night. And when I have not done what I promised to do, I don't feel good about myself. I don't sleep well. And that has been the biggest lesson that I've learned in my life, is that I want to show up every day and be the best that I can be, to be the best version of myself, because I didn't like the feeling when I was younger, excuse me, of not feeling that way. So that helps me stay accountable. And it's also part of that same spiritual practice that, I follow a certain set of ethics and morals, and I live by them, really live by them.
Yeah, I think that's a really great way to put it. And so you're my work wife with BNI. I'm just going to start calling you that now. Julietta's my work wife with a podcast, whichever way she is.
Yeah.
Podcast, and with this platform that we're creating to enrich all these women. And it's true. If I feel terrible, if I've told you, Julietta or Dani, I'm going to do something and I don't do it, it like weighs on me, right?
Yeah.
Because, we're here to work together and we're here to support one another. And so I apologize now openly if I have disappointed either one of you. But at the same time of that, I also know that you guys love me, care for me, and have grace on me when there are those times when those things happen. But it is still so great to have that accountability to each other. And we were just talking about this with another guest, and she called it sisterhood. So however you want to look at it, it's so important because we really, and this is why we started this podcast. We are here to support, uplift, and encourage other women. Enough with the competing against each other, enough of having FOMO with each other. Like, it's enough. Like, we need to be here to support one another, because when we're putting out all that good energy and that spirituality, it comes back tenfold, right? I mean, it just makes a difference in our lives overall. So
it really does. And you can't pour from an empty cup. So,
no.
You know, you have to give that grace to yourself also, and fill yourself up with meaningful stuff, so that you can share it with others, because that's what's most meaningful in life, whether it's in our business or our family or, you know, our other relationships, our friendships. All of it is about the connecting.
Right. And I'm one more thing, and I probably Julietta wants to add. I'm thinking she wants to add something to this, or she's good. Okay, she's good. But one more thing that made me think about as you were saying that is that our managing director for BNI, Laura, she always has told us there is no networking emergency. Right. And I have brought that into other areas of my life. Like when I feel guilt about, because I work with another woman named Kimberly, I do a lot of work with her, and then stuff with Julietta and with you. And whenever I have those moments that I didn't get something done, I remind myself, this is not life and death. This is not in the big picture, in the big scheme of things. This is okay if it waits till tomorrow. Yeah. Because I'm the same way, Dani. Like you said, you feel bad. You don't sleep well when you don't do certain things you said you were going to do. But sometimes there's just not enough time in the day. And if you're not shutting it off at the end of the day and taking that time to do whatever it is you need to do, you won't be able to continue. And I learned that myself the hard way over 12 years ago, because I got very sick because I was constantly up here and never took the time for that downtime. So.
Right.
Okay.
Oh. It's takeaway time.
Oh, man.
Allyson, what's your takeaway for today?
Okay. So it's very, Julietta and Dani, you got to hold me to this. I am obviously not Orthodox Jewish, but I love that whole taking that time of shutting down. And what really has prompted me even more to do this is last week I was in Utah for 5 days on a river camping and whitewater rafting. I had no service, no Wi-Fi, no electricity, no bathroom, no anything. And it was so nice. It was so nice to just be with my family, be with nature, be with the universe and God and all of that. And I have to start doing that on a weekly basis. I just need to take 24 hours. And for me, it'll probably be Saturday night to Sunday night, just because that works best with my schedule. But I think I'm off the grid. Don't try to call me or text me on Sundays anymore. I'm off the grid, Julietta, unless you're with me in person. That's it.
I'm going to be hanging. I'm going to come sleep over every Saturday night, and I'll be there till Sunday night.
Yeah, you off the grid with her.
Yeah, you can go off the grid with me, then we don't have to worry about it. We're just both off the grid.
So, and what I was going to say was, like, you know, that week for you in Utah was amazing for you. But I was over here like, I need my Allyson.
Yeah, we were coming back. We need her.
Well, sadly ended up being a rough week. It was a rough week. I'll give you that in certain ways.
No, we really just missed you.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
My takeaway was, I loved when you said the quote from Laura, there is no networking emergency. And I think, you know, and this even as a physical therapist, and, you know, I talk to my clients a lot about, you know, we're all what we call sympathetically upregulated. We're constantly in flight or flight mode, and we think everything is a saber-toothed tiger that's coming to attack us. And, you know, every phone call, every text, every email, like everything becomes this saber-toothed tiger that gets us all jacked up. And life's really not like, we need to just like chill about everything and not make everything an emergency. And it's so much healthier for our physical being, our mental being, our spiritual being. Like, no more emergencies.
Catastrophizing.
Yeah,
No,
we need to
like, really, there's been some really serious things that have happened in our community. I mean, the condo building down in Sunshine, you know, in
that is a catastrophe.
That's a catastrophe. Like those things, you know, we have a friend who's very ill right now. That's serious. You know, we had a member pass away last week. Those are the kinds of things that are more, you know,
but we tend to make everything else such a big deal, and like we get to do less of that.
Wait, speaking of that, I just had a friend from Idaho. She just texted me this morning. She's like, "Are you guys okay? So are you getting hit by bad weather?" And I'm like, and there's a perfect example of what the news does to the world. I'm looking at sunny blue skies right now at my house. I don't know about you guys. And yesterday, I know, Dani, you did have some thunderstorms.
Yeah.
It wasn't what the news, like I even caught a news thing how the Keys have been devastated by this hurricane, which it wasn't really even a hurricane when it came through.
It was a tropical storm.
So it's like, now I know that it could go up to Hurricane 1 by the time it gets to north of Tampa, but still, we know in Florida that even that necessarily is not so terrible. Like, yes, there can be tornadoes, there can be a lot of rain, you can have some damage, but listen, we've all been through a lot worse. So I guess it's perspective too, maybe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Does it. Awesome.
Dani, what's your takeaway for today?
Oh, my takeaway is how wonderful it is to be able to talk about these kinds of things with other women. We're so busy. And I was listening to myself talk, and I don't get to talk about this stuff a lot. And it's very important to me. And it's nice that I was able to have this conversation with you two. And I feel like you get it. Like, you know, we're all kind of on the same wavelength about it. So that was huge for me. And it was like a little break in the middle of the craziness, the busyness, to just sort of zoom in to what's really important as women, as working women, as mothers, wives, whatever else we are, to talk about stuff that's important instead of just all the fluff and busyness on the outside.
These are some of my favorite days. We do this twice a month, and I love, so we record a bunch of interviews at once because of our schedules. So we do 2 days of the month, and we do in the mornings one day, and the other day of the month we do the afternoon. And sometimes I'm so busy, Dani, and I know Julietta, we've talked about this. We're so busy. It's kind of one of those things like, oh, well, we got to get on and do these interviews. But I don't even get like a minute into the first interview and I'm like, I love this. Like, this is so, like, it just, we learn so much. We get to share. It's so like, I don't know. There's something about every time I come off an interview. I'm like, that was so awesome. Like every interview we come off, I'm like, oh my gosh, that one was so awesome. Wait, no, that one was really awesome. Like they're just amazing. And I love this. And I think you're right. We don't do enough of this as women. We're just trying to keep up with everybody, and we don't really sit down and share our hearts and what we really think. And we get to laugh on this. We laugh and we have fun.
Yep.
We get serious.
All of it. Yep.
All right.
Well, thank you for joining us. And to all our listeners out there, thank you for listening. And all of the stuff that we talked about, you'll be able to find that in the comments, in the show notes. And we invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, subscribe to our podcast, and share it with your friends so all of us goddesses can unite in community and uplift each other. Have a magical day, everyone.
Thanks, Dani.
My pleasure. Thank you.